What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews, and I'm here today with the Tombo Audio R1 speaker. Now, this is a speaker actually made here in Thailand. And the whole idea about the whole sort of concept behind the design of the R1 here is to make it fit in with your lifestyle and to eliminate sort of a lot of the hassle that goes into positioning speakers. Like, there's no need for room acoustics or setup like that. You can position these anywhere in the room and you'll still get a great sound without compromise. Now, the R1 here comes in at about 23,000 baht, which is roughly equivalent to $718 US. But at the moment, it's available on pre-sale for 18,000 baht, which is around $561 US. So the R1 comes in 3 different colors, but it's actually available. Like, if you have special requirements, you can talk to the guys and they will actually do a custom color setup for you. But by default, there are 3 versions available, and that is white, black, and the red. This is what they call the black. It's actually more like a charcoal gray. I really like the gray color here. And you got this beautiful real wood facade on the front, or the faceplate is actually real wood. Now, of course, they chose real wood for its acoustic properties as well as its natural, beautiful appearance. So before we go any further, I'll just give you a quick tour of the physical build of the speaker. And you've got a coaxial driver setup with a 5.2-inch woofer and a 24mm aluminium dome tweeter right there. Now, what's special about these drivers is they call them a rotary driver. What it means is you can actually position separately the tweeter and the woofer within like this. So no matter where you put the speakers in the room, you can adjust the angle of the drivers to get the optimal sound. So you don't have to worry about having the space or, do I have to put it up against the wall? Things like that. On top of the rotary design, you've also got tone switches on the speaker. You've got a bass switch here. And with that, you can have it set to either default or -3 dB. And there's a treble switch at the top here, which gives you +3 dB, 0 dB and -3 dB. Now, for example, what you could use those for is if you have to have the speaker flush up against the wall due to restrictions of the room, then you would probably want to leave the bass at 0 dB in the default position. However, if you do have the extra space to bring them out from the wall a bit, you can then put the bass switch to +3 dB, and then you'll get a bit more of a fuller sound, fill up that bigger room a bit better. On the back of the speaker here, you've just got a very simple pair of binding posts set up, nice quality binding posts, and 1 bass port here at the back. And when you look at it from the side, you can see it's quite narrow speaker, so it won't take up a lot of space like a regular speaker would in the room. Although, as you can see, it is quite large in terms of height. So with that stuff out of the way, let's get on to how they actually sound. And the R1 are what I would call lively entertainers. They have a fairly balanced sound signature with a snappy, quick bass, a neutral mid-range, and a laid-back treble. While a lot of affordable speakers go for a bold and upfront presentation, the R1 kind of leans more towards speed and refinement. So it's not a big bassy or really warm, thick sound like a lot of more budget-oriented speakers go for. This is more sort of a audiophile tune, very balanced sound with a lot of speed and refinement. Let's break it down now a bit, starting with the bass. And the bass is more like a complement to the overall presentation rather than the emphasis on the sound. So if you're someone who likes a lot of bass, you'll probably want to introduce a subwoofer into the setup, but I think for most people, the bass response will be sufficient on its own. It's more about the mid-bass emphasis, so it doesn't have a lot of real heavy, deep impact or sub-bass, but that's actually probably a good thing. with the design concept of this in mind, like especially if you have neighbors nearby, like behind the wall, you've got neighbors, or you don't want to disturb your other family members in other parts of the home. So in this case, having a lighter, more neutral bass is definitely more beneficial. Now onto the mid-range, and the mid-range has really nice clarity. It has a fairly neutral tone to it. It's not especially forward or expressive, but rather it's more in line or balanced in relation to the bass and the treble. And it's a mid-range that's tuned for versatility across music genres rather than sort of outright expression. And when we get to the treble, the treble itself is fairly laid back. It is a nice crisp sounding treble. It's not soft or dark, but it's just sort of pushed further back in the mix. It sits slightly behind the bass and the mid-range. So as such, the R1 isn't the most detailed or revealing speaker, but the upside of that, of course, is that it's very smooth and easy on the ears. So it's a treble that won't cause fatigue over time, and furthermore, it's more forgiving to poor quality recording. So if you got some less than stellar recorded or mastered audio, these won't punish you for it. These are more forgiving in that sense. The speakers work well with all kinds of music genres, but I found them to be especially good for jazz and blues. I think that's where the R1 really shines, although I did try some hip hop with it, I did try some rock with it, and I also tried some classical, and it did a pretty good job with everything, but especially the jazz and the blues really seem to be a strong point for the R1. Now in terms of transparency and regarding the speaker placement and the room setup, the speakers do a really good job of sort of disappearing in the room. You know, with a lot of conventional speakers, if you don't have the right placement, you're really compromising a lot of audio quality. If you don't have the perfect seating position, you don't have the perfect distance from the wall and angle and all that, the toe in. But the R1 is very versatile in terms of placement. You can just about put it anywhere and still be able to get a good sound. Now let's talk about the soundstage for a minute. And the R1 creates quite a wide soundstage, and it's got a nice stable center image. There is a good sense of layering throughout the soundstage, although the instrument placement and sort of stereo imaging is slightly on the vague side. It's not the most pinpoint precise, and that's probably due to the kind of more laid-back treble. However, I'm really impressed with how consistent the R1 soundstage is. Even when the speakers are moved to different parts of the room, it maintains a very stable and clean soundstage. So in conclusion, that's the Tombo Audio R1. It's a beautiful speaker in my opinion, very versatile. It works great in any room, not just any room, but any position in the room. You don't need strict setup to make these sound good. They'll just do a good job wherever you put them. I think the ideal use for the Tombo Audio R1 is for people who want to get into the hi-fi scene, but they're unsure about how to set up a room, how to position the speakers. They just want something that is simple, won't take up too much room. You don't need a whole lot of components. It's relatively easygoing in terms of amplification and driving power. It's not too fussy about that. So just for something that's really simple yet beautiful, it'll work in any room, the Tombo Audio 1, definitely worth checking out. You will not be disappointed. So that about wraps it up for this video, guys. As always, there'll be a link to the written review in the description, as well as links to my social media channels. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, Parfam audiophile style. And if you're new to the channel and want to see more content like this in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you later.